everybody, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Alexi Sale podcast with me, Alexi Sale, and my good buddy and technical assistant, Talal Karkuti. Hey, Talal.
Hello. Whoa, I'm coming in right at the beginning.
Yeah, why not?
Why gosh. Not? Hi, this is me.
Hi. All right, so people seem to like the format when we did last podcast, which is a kind of really stream of consciousness, not the interviews or with my celebrity friends or tightly. Oh shit! Somebody calling me. There's a doctor. I'll ignore
that. Don't ignore your doctor, Alexi.
Yeah, won't be so crap.
What do they know? What do they know? So you don't have a monologue planned for the top?
No, so I don't. As people seem to like the free flowing, easy come, easy go attitude to this podcast, rather than the interviews with my celebrity cohort or with the tightly scripted monologue. So I'm happy to go along with that. So there's even less thought and preparation gone into this edition of the podcast than the last one. So. Which is not to say that there's none, because that's all I think about really is my podcast. So there's a certain amount of. So anyway, so here we are. It's podcast number 9, and this is April the 9th. And next week we are going to be allowed to sit outside restaurants and bars. That's a big thing for me, really. I think I talked a little bit about celebrity behavior and my failed friendship with Sting, and how, if you want to be a celebrity, you have to act like a celebrity. And one of the things about that is that you have to act like a star. You have to only be friends with other stars. One of the other things that you need to do is when you are dining out, is one of the things that's really important to do is order off menu. It's not to accept anything that a restaurant offers you on the menu, but to order, and this is how every star will do this, that they will never accept anything that's on a menu, but they will mess with the order of things. Of course, it's been very difficult with restaurants being closed. At the moment, all I have been able to do is to sign on to HelloFresh and just emphasize that all they can send me is potatoes. But now we're going back into restaurant land, and so I'll be able to exercise my celebrity star power. One of the things I always do when I'm in a restaurant, I go to a Spanish restaurant, I order the Gazpacho, and then I tell them to heat it up. There's also pubs, of course. There's a pub near me, this is true, there's a pub near me on King's Cross Road that actually has grab handles, like on the doors, like you get in a disabled toilet. It has grab handles, so I'm looking forward to going there when things open up.
You can get as legless as you like.
Yeah. I think, it's obviously, I think it speaks to the clientele. I've never been in the pub, but it speaks to the clientele that go in there, I think. That's, it's all looking good, I think. I'm looking forward to that.
Would you ever be up for recording an episode in a pub?
We could do. Well, one of the things I've thought about doing before, we could never really get, one of my interests is budget dining.
Oh yeah, we've touched on this.
It's really one of my hobbies, and my favorite book is, my favorite book is Time Out 100 Budget Restaurants. And so, go to some kind of budget restaurants and record an episode in there, I think could be useful.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And we could talk about the whole, the concept of budget dining, really, which I think is not just it's not just a way of filling your face, but it's a kind of philosophy, really. You can build it out into, meaning a lot more than just being like, a cheap ass who will only pay, won't pay more than £4 for falafel. You can, my own aberrant behavior is always to try and kind of build it out into a philosophy, really.
I've noticed you have an art of being able to turn anything into politics. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Well, it's not just, everything, I think one of the things you learn at art school, or I learned at art school, was everything is important. This is also, in a sense, the idea behind postmodernism, that everything is as important as everything else. There is no high culture. I don't entirely go along with that, but certainly you can find meaning. You can find as much philosophical import in, an all-you-can-eat restaurants as you can in the writings of Descartes. Or maybe you can't.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm talking crap. Who knows? But again, yes, these are. I mean, I think that in a way, this what this podcast does is also that we raise issues and then throw it out there and see what the people think. La gente, populace. What do you think about these things? So a couple of other things I thought I would just raise really, and things I've wanted to talk about. I've never been quite able to, get them into the shape where they're like a comedic bit or, but then, I think this to take a half-formed idea, kind of talk about it here and see if it, evolves into something more. So, like that idea of the pub with the grab handles, which I thought really died on its arse. You went in, it didn't really work. Anyway, so what's up with Mr. Muscle? That's a thing. That's a thing I want to talk about. What's up with Mr. Muscle? Now, is Mr. Muscle, for instance, a kind of harbinger of our more literal age? Because I can remember when I was a lad, Mr. Muscle was a weedy guy, wasn't he? Do you remember the Mr. Muscle, the cleaning product? I don't know if you're,
Yeah, I think he's still around.
Yeah, but Mr. Muscle was this like weedy guy with glasses, and it was a kind of ironic idea, play on the idea of Mr. Muscle, because he wasn't, right? He was all kind of weak. But now Mr. Muscle is all muscular.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether it's because people were saying, people don't understand irony anymore. Because people were saying, well, this product is called Mr. Muscle, and yet the guy on it is all weedy. I don't understand this irony. I won't buy this product. I'll buy lemon sif instead, because the guy's all weedy. So what they've had to do is they've had to make him all muscular now. I mean, what's up with that? What's this, I just think it speaks to the kind of the lack of irony in our modern age. So people want simplicity. They can't take the idea that Mr. Muscle's a weedy guy, and that's an ironic comment on his name, but he has to be all muscular now. So that's something. Now, here's another thing. When I wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, I use my watch now, which is analog. But for a while, I had a kind of illuminated clock, right? You press the button and it lights up. And more often, I think, than could possibly be a coincidence, the time would be like 2:22 or 3:33 or 5:55. So all the numbers would be the same. I'm like, you're a bit dopey, so you go, yeah, whatever. But I mean, what's that all about? Because it happened far more often than could really be explained by just random coincidence. And it led me to wonder whether, in fact, we are living in a kind of, which is that film where the whole world is planned out by men in hats, led by that guy from Mad Men. Is it Inception? Is it the Christopher Nolan film Inception, or is it the other one? I get mixed up.
Are you talking about the Bureau?
The Adjustment
Is it the one with Matt Damon?
Yeah,
the Adjustment
Matt
Bureau.
Damon. Is that the Adjustment Bureau? But the whole world, isn't it?
That is the one. That is.
Who plays the girlfriend? That's not Emily
there's like
Blunt
secret.
Again, yeah,
I think it is. Yeah, and
it's Emily Blunt. We talk a lot about Emily Blunt.
Yeah, maybe we should get her on the show. Maybe
she could be on. She's bound to be a fan.
I'll chuck her a tweet. Whenever someone like puts their timeline out of whack, they come out of their portals. They have to come and
readdress. So I wonder. Yeah, I kind of wonder whether that's the fact that my clock says 2:22 is it kind of like, like somebody's involved in the nighttime, but it's just like a nighttime kind of security guy, and he's not that. He's supposed to update update the time, but they've kind of gone to the toilet because there's only one guy on duty managing reality when it's dark. You see what I'm aiming at with this idea?
Yeah.
And that's why the time is often like 2:22, because it's just like it's a bit like, like them tellies you get at IKEA that are flat screen tellies that are made of cardboard. It's just a kind of fake, really.
Have you ever, when you're asleep, everything pauses?
Everything's asleep. And there's one guy in the night, there's only like a couple of guys in head office looking after reality, because it doesn't need that. Yeah, exactly.
They're like, why pay attention to Alexi's clock? We've got
exactly. And so he's taking his eye off the ball.
Only 3 of us on shift.
Yeah, I wake up and the clock says 2:20, and 3:33. And so it's just a man with a hat running down your road.
A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road. A man with a hat running down your road in a hot
Yeah.
sweat.
Well, no. I mean, it's not. It's not. No. It's not done physically. It's obviously done remotely
Oh,
somehow. No, I don't think it's done physically, really.
I think I know the theory behind this. Just sorry to take the humor away from the point, but like, yeah, well, I think it's when, because we look at our clock. If you have a clock like that, you must look at it 100 times a day without even thinking about it.
Right.
But then the one time that you look at it,
You're gonna fuck up my bit.
no, okay, I'll stop.
No, go on. No, go on.
The one time you look at it that is something stands out about it is the time that sticks in your memory. It's like when people have dreams
Right.
about something and then that happens the next day. Like a lot of people have dreamt about a worldwide event and then it happens the next day and they're like, I can predict the future. I'm a psychic.
Yeah.
But like you don't remember the other 1,000 dreams you have because they're inane and but then the one dream you have that happens to match reality, that's the one that you're going to remember. Like there's 7 billion people having 7 billion dreams every night. One of them's gonna dream about the thing that happens the next day, right?
Well, that's disappointingly rational.
Oh,
I try the pub with the grab handles bit again, see if that works any better now.
I'm like the guys looking at the Mr. Muscle bottle and
you can't fucking take like the idea that you're like Mr. Straight Man. You can't take the idea that the world is being run by from so that's well, that's more or less all my Well, there's another idea. I don't know. This is also a half-formed idea that in the particularly in the 50s and stuff. Well, they kind of had a conference that Soviet art, communist art in the 50s was very literal. Was socialist realism, which was every flower
cinema verite.
No, that's a different thing. No, it was more. It was like everything was like very literal. It was heroic. Flowers looked like flowers and stuff. And so, a decision was made in the West that therefore, what the powers in the West had to promote was abstractionism, because abstractionism talked to kind of was the art of advanced capitalism and was about freedom and kind of. Really exciting ideas. And so I think it's as a fact that a lot of like major painters, abstract expressionists and stuff like that were actually, and certainly avant-garde poetry magazines were actually financed by the CIA. And same in Britain, that the security services financed a lot of avant-garde literary magazines and art and so on. And I think it's a really interesting idea. I sort of tried to write a movie about like a kind of buttoned up CIA man, who's sent on a mission to go and mix with the artists down in Greenwich Village, and as a kind of undercover agent. And he becomes taken with these ideas of abstractionism and he revolts against his authoritarian bosses. But I never got any further than that, really. So I don't know what people think about that. The idea that anyway that abstract art in the 1950s and 1960s was actually financed by the security services, just as Sakir Starmer is now. And I think you said that
that is the
segue.
Halfest idea I've ever heard. But it does really align with an email we had. So I'm just going to slip this in real quick, actually, because Paul emailed in, Dear Alexi and Khalel, okay.
Close enough.
Close enough. He says, blah, blah, blah. But then at the very end, he says, perhaps you can put me out of my misery, but I seem to remember seeing a sketch where you were walking around the BBC saying it definitely wasn't a left-wing organization while communist propaganda hung from the walls in the background. Does that exist, or is it just a dream?
Yeah, I think it's from second or third series of stuff, I think. Oh, and again, talking about how much money we had, we actually did that. We had the money. It wasn't CGI or anything. We did drape the BBC in Soviet banners and had extras with Kalashnikovs on the gates of the television center. And I think Soviet troops marching around. Yeah, we did that. They let us do that. That's how great the BBC were.
That's amazing.
Where then back in those days.
It kind of relates to what you were just saying, but kind of the opposite at the same time. But
well, you were also saying though that in that quick segue into Starmer hatred that somebody said why don't you ever you're always kind of having a go at Labour, but you never have a go at the Tories, really. It's something that is has sometimes been leveled at me. I mean, I think in my certainly in like the radio series in stuff there is that bit. I mean, that James O'Brien quotes every week, which is obviously an attack on the Tories and on austerity. That one about austerity is the theory that the worldwide financial crash of 2008 was caused by Wolverhampton having too many libraries.
Oh yeah,
That I
that's from
do in
Sandwich
my
Bar.
from Sandwich Bar,
Yeah.
yes. I do, and in my stand-up, I very much have a go at, and I think it's important to do that, that it is the sacred role of the comedian to very much attack authority. If on this podcast I have been more certainly attacking the right wing of the Labour Party, I suppose I am more horrified by what's happened to the Labour Party of late. So that is what's at the forefront of my mind. But, I take the point that maybe I should try and do some more stuff about the Tories as well, really. But I would say that certainly in my stand-up and in my radio series, I do very much have a go at the government already. But
Yeah.
point taken. I'm a person. I'm a guy that can learn. I'm not fixed in my ways.
I don't think it's a matter of what you
criticism.
should or shouldn't do. You should do what you want and like follow your emotions and where your creative juices lead you. But at least we're acknowledging that. It's like, no, Alexi's not secretly a Tory. You're not here to
exactly
destroy the Labour Party, and you're not been planted by the Tories or anything.
No. I'm with you, comrades.
But it's closer to home, isn't it? When it's on your front door, when it's the actual supposed left-wing party. Behaving this way, and it relates more to recent events with the whole
exactly. But I'm fraternal criticism. I'm very I'll take it on board, comrades. So anyway, So I think I've probably run out of. I've been going for a while. I think I've run out of prepared material. So now it's time to.
I like that segment, Alexi's half-baked intro.
Yeah,
it's a good
That's
segment.
Very good.
Idea.
Yeah.
It's a good way to open the show.
Yeah.
Half ideas I've had this week.
Yeah. Incoherent semi-comedic notions that I've failed to make. So there's this pub, near me that's got grab handles on it, and like a disabled toilet. And I really want to. I don't know.
Yeah, you can get really legless in there. Okay. Shall we do some emails?
Let's do some emails.
Okay, let's keep it relating to what you were talking about, because Rick emailed in, and he really likes the political stuff. I enjoy what you say a lot, but I must confess some of it goes over my head. It's a bit of a tall order, but I reckon you can deliver. Because any chance of a brief episode where you go back to basics a bit and explain about the left and the right, etc.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. Not here right now. I'd have to do a bit of
because it may benefit any of your other fans who like me struggle.
Yes, well, that's you sort of. It's an interesting idea, isn't it? Whether is how much you adapt to your audience's knowledge, or whether you make assumptions that they kind of half know what you're talking about, and sort of. I always think that was one of the great things about American sitcoms was the kind of that they assumed that their audiences were brighter, or kind of had a knowledge that the British sitcoms tended to be so ploddingly kind of explanatory. With I remember there's a joke, a kind of conversation in an episode of Seinfeld about Neville Chamberlain, and most people in Britain wouldn't know specifically who Neville Chamberlain was, but it doesn't kind of matter because it's partly the daring of they kind of know it enough to get the gag, and I think the particularly British sitcoms are often, kind of really laboured in there, didn't treat people as being intelligent, really. So, but on the other hand, I tend, because I am, I've grown up my whole life has been spent in left politics. I tend to make assumptions about what other people know, and so I think it would be an interesting challenge to also make it funny. Would be to do an episode that is an explanation of the various strains in the various, nuances of left politics, really, and even to go back to basic, explain what left is, what right is. I think that's a good idea. Rick, was it?
That was Rick.
Rick, yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's yeah. Let's do that. Let's at some point we'll do a Alexi Sow's explanation of left politics.
Oh, great. Okay, I'd love that. Yeah. Politics 101 with Alexi
Yeah,
Sales. Not just left and the right. Don't forget, left and
and
right.
the right. Yeah, I know lots about that, but yeah.
In a nutshell, see if you can do it in like 10 minutes or less. Explain British politics.
I could do nothing in 10 minutes.
And then he also actually goes on to ask, he'd love to hear your recollections of your brief stint as a guest star on Doctor Who in about 1985. And now I never watched. Well, I know Doctor Who is, but and I am like a self-confessed nerd, but I never went down the Doctor Who road.
Yeah.
But I do know that I think you played like a DJ on it or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What the
It's
hell?
an episode called Revelation of the Daleks, and Peter Capaldi is a very good friend of mine, and I often taunt him with the fact that the best Doctor of all time was actually Colin Baker. The Doctor I was in my episode of Revelation of the Daleks, and I played a DJ who there was this planet which was all people in cryogenic storage, just their brains, maybe their brain. No, it was people who were in cryogenic storage, which means people who've been frozen and so are kept frozen until a cure for their disease is discovered, and then they're thawed out and reanimated. I think Walt Disney is or was in that state. I don't think it's ever worked. But anyway, so there's this planet where all these people are in cryogenic storage. The only human being alive on the planet is me, who is a DJ who plays music for all the people who are in these kind of comas, as it were, these frozen comas. At least we think he's the only person alive on the planet. But in fact, it turns out that the Daleks have taken the brains out of these people, these frozen people, and putting them in Daleks to make them Daleks, as it were, using their brains as components in Daleks. And so and for a long time, I was actually, because they for a long time, I was the last person who was killed by a Dalek for many, many years until the series was reanimated with Christopher Eccleston, who I also think was one of the best Doctors, really. I mean, I really loved that first iteration with when they brought it back with Christopher. And also, as a crossover to the bike rides as well, I don't know, I mentioned on one of the bike rides that, that whenever you cycle or run around North London, you'd see Christopher Eccleston. So I just want to say I have seen him since. I didn't see him on that bike ride, but I have seen I have seen Christopher Eccleston once when I was walking in Highgate Woods, I think, and Christopher Eccleston hurtled past. So if you walk around Hampstead Heath and Highgate Woods, you will see Christopher Eccleston. I guarantee it.
There should be a sign up saying days since Eccleston last spotted, and we tick it back down to 0 every time someone spots it.
But I don't know. Oh yeah. So anyway, Doctor Who. So yeah, if people are interested, I can talk more about.
Yeah, wait. So that's like the origins of the Daleks. Is that where they all got their brains from?
Nah, what the fuck? No. You need to really. No, okay. Your knowledge. You're embarrassing yourself now. This is.
But like what? So like the joke of the episode is that it turns out they're audience.
Davos, I think, or is he called? See, you don't actually need to be talking to somebody else about this, but yeah, for some reason they were using the brains of the dead people to power Daleks, but no, the Daleks, go way back. Davos or Davros, maybe. I think they named an international kind of economic conference after him, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's a very rarefied joke. And he was. I can't remember why he was doing it.
But wait, so the conceit of the episode was that it turned out your audience as the DJ were actually all brainless.
No, their brains were being stolen and turned into Daleks. Yeah. Could happen.
Yeah. That's a running theme today. So ignorant, brainless audiences who don't know anything. I'm kidding.
No, that's just...
I'm kidding.
You must surrender. The Earth Woman must come with us. It is still time to receive.
You did it!
That's right. Hey, you guys, this is the broadcast window broadcast.
Yeah! Look out! More dollars! You murdered him! Why did you have to...
I was, interestingly enough, I was doing a book reading. This was a few years ago. I think it was in Huddersfield, and a woman asked me, "What do you think of identity politics?" And at this point, I said, "Well, I don't really know much about identity politics." And people usually in the Q&As of these book readings, they just ask me about working with the Daleks. And she said, "Well, actually, the Daleks are a good example of identity politics because they are a coherent group who are, who act only in their own interests in a sense." So I thought that was a good I thought she won that one, really. I thought, well done, lady in the audience.
And what, no one ever considers their point of view? Or they don't?
Not that, it's
others?
just, I don't know, that was, I'm just relaying that incident, really. So but I thought it was very quick. Is that noise coming from me or from you?
I believe so, yeah, it was.
Okay. No, I just thought that was it was very, it was interesting that she came back to me and said, that there's building works going on here, so it's
okay.
We're getting that. Can you edit that drilling out, or
we'll see if Anthony can, but if not, sorry
go
about the
with it.
background noise, listener.
Yeah.
Alexi lives next door to a dentist.
Alexi's trying to tunnel out of using this podcast.
What else would you confess to being ignorant about? Just out of interest.
Me? I'm not confessing. Oh, what, identity politics? Well, no, because I'm up to speed on identity politics now. It's hard not to be.
Yeah.
I'm not. Well, I don't know. That we could do another episode about things Alexi's ignorant of.
I don't mean it as a dig. I mean, like, as a leveler, we've had an audience member admit to them not being up to speed with the politics you talk about. Is there anything, as a nice leveler, is there anything that you want to? Maybe we'll get an email informing you about it or something. Is there anything you're curious about?
I know about everything.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah. But I can't cook.
Oh, I wanted to mention this earlier. So on your latest bike ride, and this is the first time this has happened, but I don't know what's going to come out first, this podcast or the next bike ride. But you talk about falafel, and it does.
Yeah.
It goes in line with your budget eating as well, budget dining idea.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of budget dining because it's not about like being a miser or anything. It's like I just don't like being ripped off. No one does.
Exactly.
But falafel is something close to my heart as an Arab and as the son of a fantastic cook.
Mm-hmm.
And my mum taught me how to make falafel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so easy to do. Maybe I could show you how to do it, how to make your own falafel one day. Would you be interested in that? It's much cheaper than buying it anywhere.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Wouldn't we need like a visual component? How would that work exactly? Would you
make it work?
Yeah, you can make it work just in an audio.
Yeah, or we can make a video about it. Why not? Maybe for the new Instagram page we have. At Alexi Sale Pod on Instagram. Yeah, we have an Instagram account now.
Do I?
Yeah, you do.
All right.
It's called.
Yeah, no, I think, and of course, it's highly politicized as well because it's become the ownership of falafel is also in contention, isn't it? Really.
So, yes. Yeah. And hummus, like who made it first, the Jews or the Arabs, and then some even wonder the Greeks or the Cypriots or the Turks, and it's like my answer to that is always, well, we're all actually the same. We're more the same than we are different. All that whole part of the world, it's like we all came up with it at the same time because we're all from the same fucking place. So there's not really much contention, if you ask me. People like to create divisions and politics sometimes where it's not necessary.
I
So
think
that
you're
would be
right
my
there.
response to that.
All right. But yeah, so you can, a falafel cooking lesson would be, I'm not going to make my own falafel, though. I
No?
can tell you that now.
Well, I could make you some
However,
falafel. It will be better than any takeaway you've ever
really,
had. Certainly better than the king of falafel.
but then you, I know he's not, I was trying to think about, yeah, he's not a king of falafel. Not even a count, I don't think. He's not even count for, I don't know what the gradations are of kind of aristocratic hierarchy, but I don't know what the lowest is. Earl, maybe?
Yeah, Lord.
Earl falafel, or how's it go? Like Earl, Duke?
What's the one that's a mayor, but he's not actually a mayor? They're like they're just a mayor by name, but they don't actually have any power. What's that? What's that position called?
To do with the aristocracy. That's just
Yeah, I know, but that I think that we'd put them.
oh,
there,
right.
you know.
So you mean like councillor of falafel, or
Yeah,
yeah. What's honorary mayor, metro mayor of falafel? He is.
Metro Mayor. I like that one. There's a place in Soho. It's not actually a shop. It's a food stall in the street outside of a comic book shop. I can't remember the name of the bloody road, and that is the best. That's the best falafel I've had in London, and it's just like 4 Palestinians just running a little stall at the end of this. There's a road where there's a bunch of food stalls.
I'm going to go there then as soon as they reopen.
Theirs is at the end.
They might be open now. I'm going to have a drink in that pub with the door, with the grab handles on the door, and then I'm going to go down there.
I'll take you there on the next bike ride if you like.
All right.
That could
Yalla.
be fun. Yalla habibi. Eros.
Yalla habibi. Yeah. All right.
Would you like another email?
Yes, please. Do you think this is too rambly, or this? Do you think people are going to enjoy this?
There's one way to find out, and
That's true. Fair point.
okay, let's go back to something from last episode because we had a request for you to interpret a dream,
Yes.
and you kind of you
Yes, I've been thought a
you-
lot. I've actually thought a lot about this since. Now, first of all, I have to say, I thought in retrospect that this so the person who submitted their dream, that I do have a dangerous tendency to try and overreach myself. Having said that, I'll give us an example that I had. I'd seen an episode of, I think it was ER or Casualty, and in which a man was, I thought, hypoglycemic and had been fed chocolate, and that had saved his life. And so I was in an episode, a branch of a long gone fast food franchise called the Bagel Factory. And a man had a fit in front of me. So I immediately, because I'd seen this episode of ER or Casualty, I immediately said to the staff, "Oh yeah, you want to cram some chocolate down him right away?
No.
That'll fix him up, good and proper." Luckily, the staff ignored me and called a paramedic. Called the ambulance, and I said to the paramedic when they got there, I said to him, "He's hypoglycemic." I told them they should have crammed some chocolate down him. And he said that's the worst possible thing they could have done. You would have killed him. Good on the staff for ignoring me.
Thank goodness
so
you didn't whip out a knife and do a tracheotomy on the guy.
I do. Well, I was friendly. I did. I met a friend of mine was going out with a surgeon, and the first thing I asked him was how do you do a tracheotomy? Because it is. Don't start choking in my presence because I will get a poor boy pen out and stab you in the throat. So steer clear of me. So I have to fight this tendency that I have to interfere really beyond my capabilities. So I don't want to. I'm a bit. The guy told us about his dream, and also I spoke to Linda about it, who is good at interpreting dreams, and I don't want to mess too much, in the guy's psyche. She did think so. I apologize in advance.
Well, can I read the dream out again before?
Yeah,
we
read
get
the
into
dream
that?
out. Yeah.
I quickly just remind our listeners. So this was from Matt. He's had this dream since 1985. Recurring dream. Here it is. I'm vacuuming around my house when all of a sudden I accidentally hoover up a piece of ham that in my dream I'm convinced is actually my boyhood hero and legendary Liverpool FC striker Ian Rush. Then he wakes up and finds it very unsettling. So Yes. What are the
Yes, well, Linda
results?
she said, first of all, that dreams tend to make bad puns. So ham is perhaps a bad pun. That if your dreams often make bad puns or kind of heavy-handed joke. She thought it sounded like I didn't know he'd had it since '85. Really, she thought it sounded like a kind of dream of regret. Really, that he regrets something. He's hoovering up his youth, perhaps. Again, I don't want to. I am completely unqualified. I will say to you now, I am completely unqualified to make any judgment on this dream. But maybe was the guy? What was his name? The guy that emailed in,
Matt.
Matt. Maybe Matt, you regret. Maybe you should live life to. Maybe you should live life to the full. Everybody should really. But it seems a slightly sad dream. Maybe you should attack life with more gusto. But I say I'm completely unqualified to give any interpretation of this dream. That's all right, isn't it? It's not, I'm not.
That's fine. Yeah, don't fret too much over hoovered up ham, Matt.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, but also, yeah. And it may. I don't know whether he could say maybe once he's mentioned it, he no longer has the dream. I don't know. Maybe just articulating it may deal with the problem.
Yeah. Hopefully, we provided a service just in giving him a forum to get it off his chest.
Yeah.
Get that ham off your chest, Matt. Okay. Thank you, Alexi. Let's give you another one. This is a fresh email, just came in during recording, in fact.
Wow.
From Victoria. And she's just harking back a couple episodes ago when you were chatting to Mr. Stuart Lee. She says, regarding your convo with Stu, surely your interpretation of cat ownership is not Maoist, but meowist. It's a very funny joke.
Boom.
Badum-tish.
I'm here all week.
But then that's an interesting question. What do you think is going on with kids of traditionally left-wing figures being right-wing horrors, such as Glenda Jackson's son, Dan Hodges, and Labour peer and sociologist Michael Young's son, Toby Young? So there's like a trend of...
Yeah, that's really interesting. Thank you very much for that, Victoria. And I also, yes, this is an idea that I've probably never developed, but I've thought a lot. I mean, it seems to me, yes, Dan Hodges, for instance, son of Glenn, that it is that each right-wing vile column that he writes for the Daily Mail is a howl of rage against his mother. And he is saying that, don't take your top off in that movie, Mum. Don't did you have an affair with George Segal? I don't. Don't cavort in that Ken Russell film, Mum. Yes, so Victoria, yes. I think that's a really interesting. I had, I'm being, of course, you got no notes, but yes, Dan Hodges, it always struck me that his ranting is definitely an Oedipal howl of rage against his mother. And Toby Young, I mean, a gruesome individual. But it's maybe something you could think. I mean, it's where do left-wing figures, when they their children go to the right, is it a flaw in them? Have they failed to be? I don't know what kind of a mum Glenda Jackson was. She was a terrific actress. Was Toby Young's dad? Was he? Sometimes I think. I think something that I noticed in my own parents' circle. They were coming. There was an idea with. That because people were engaged in the revolutionary struggle and were thinking about benefiting all mankind, that they didn't have to look after their children or didn't have to be, pay for their round in the pub. I think that was a definite kind of thing within the left and
I do enough,
I think
kind of attitude.
Yeah, I do, because I'm fighting for the people of the Congo. Therefore, I don't have to stop at a red traffic light. So, I mean, it's that is an unfortunate aspect of some on the left, I think. But that's something we could discuss in greater detail. But Dan Hodges, fucking hell, he's horrible.
Well, if I may have put my opinion into the hat, I reckon it's similar to noticing a clock striking 2:22. It's like it's not actually that common.
I didn't know
It's
you were
not-
going to do that.
It's not the
Callback.
most common occurrence, but when it does happen, it stands out because I'm breaking my brain trying to think of more examples, but I'm struggling because, like,
Yeah, there is a.
thinking about my parents and their circles, we're all really as left wing as our parents are, if
Yeah.
not more.
Me too. Yeah.
Bloody
Yeah.
Corbyn's son is really left wing. He runs a hemp
Yeah.
company. He's a super lovely chap.
Yeah.
So I think it's rare, but like when it happens, it stands out more, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think Lawrence Fox, he comes from quite a liberal family,
Are they?
and then
He's just an idiot.
he still thinks he's liberal, but yeah.
Yeah.
Albania. Nick emailed in asking where the idea came from you for the Albania World Cup anthem. I had listened to that this morning, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Well, I just thought, I think, it was the time of the World Cup and people were, it was in the early days really of people making anthems. And Albania weren't in the World Cup or anything. I just had this idea that I would do their anthem and then it would become a huge novelty hit. And very little of that came about. But it's a typical of me in a way that it was too it was too abstruse an idea to really, get traction as a novelty hit, really. But I mean, they weren't even in the World Cup, Albania. But it's and we recorded it in a very basic studio somewhere. But it's a funny idea, really. And
I didn't realize they weren't in the World Cup, so that adds an interesting.
No, it was completely pointless. Yeah,
but your voice is really good in it. I really like your singing voice.
Okay.
It's some of the better singing I've heard you do. In terms of like actual technically good voice, like you're hitting the notes really beautifully. And I think that song would if you're saying it didn't go down well or wasn't quite,
it wasn't a huge hit, I mean, Radio 1 we didn't play it.
So you did release it as a single?
Oh yeah, it was released as a single. Yeah, and I remember I did some telly promotion for it. I did some TV show with Danny Baker. I remember plugging it, but no, nobody.
I think it would. I'll put a clip in the episode because it's really funny, and I think it would go down better today than it would have.
Maybe, yeah.
I found it really funny. Here's a little clip.
Rooms of Slovak, or the hotel rooms of Slovak. Sing along with me, revolutionaries of the hotel rooms of Slovak. Albania, not nearly as repressive as Romania. Easier to spell than Botswana, and if we don't win again, the secret police will take away our extra meat ration. Albania, not nearly as repressive as Romania. Easier to spell than Botswana, and if we don't win again, the secret police will shout at our slippers.
Yeah, was that on your the record label that we talked about last time?
I think it. I guess it was. Yeah, I must have done it on Ireland. Yeah,
Island Records. Loads and loads of emails in about your Rover.
Yes, and you sent me a photo, and it's kind of white with a kind of ivory white with a black roof. It looks. It just sold for £19,000.
Correct.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks better than when I had it in black, really. I wonder whether somebody's using it as like a wedding car or something. That is not its original colour. Originally, it was grey, but it does look fantastic. BMT 5278, yeah.
And you painted it black, and now they've painted it white.
With a black roof, yeah, kind of ivory.
And it looks like also it's not currently on the road because it hasn't passed its latest MOT. But
okay, I didn't know that.
But you were wondering how much it would be worth nowadays and stuff. So our listeners really delivered there. They gave us so much useful information.
Yeah,
including like exactly what it got bought for very recently.
£19,800. I sold it for. I think I sold it to the rugby playing priest for £5,000, I think.
That's right.
I paid £4,000 to it, to this Buddhist squatter called Quintus, I remember, who lived in Somerstown. And then maybe sold it for £5,000.
Bloody hell. It's almost quadrupled in price.
Yeah, but then, yeah.
We keep getting lots of emails about the young ones. And Chris sent a really nice story about when he was 13, he was watching you guys filming it out in Bristol in the street. And him and his mates would go, every time you were shooting, he would be just off to the side, and he met you a couple of times. Some great memories for him. So we're in talks with I'm talking to Alexi about doing a Young Ones special.
If that's what people want.
We deliver.
People want, we deliver, yeah. At your service, except when we're not.
So yeah, keep an eye out for that, because we will. Yeah, we're going to put something nice together. Do a Young Ones retrospective of some sort. So that's a big part of my childhood as well, that show. Technically it was before my time. I was born in 1987. But
first series was 1982.
But even in my pre-teens, it was on TV regularly. Such a staple of British telly. And yeah, I would love to do an episode on that. Okay, look, I do have something I want to finish on. But before we do that, we've had a few emails asking who the fuck I am. I'm Talal. Hello. Someone said, someone sent quite a... It was quite frustrating to me. He's like, who is Talal? Does he ever want to have a podcast of his own one day? Is he trying to be a performer of sorts? And it just infuriated me, because I've been a comedian for a number of years now, and I've been podcasting for almost 7 years. And I approached Alexi to do this because I've got quite a lot of experience in podcasting, but very few listeners. And you really brought that home for me, Sean. Thank you. But I hope you're enjoying my dulcet tones on the show. And it's nice to have working on a show that has people listening to it finally. Alexi doesn't seem to mind.
No, I think we're feeling this is the best format, really. It's gonna this Ant is gonna have a challenge with all this noise, isn't it? I hope he can edit it out.
Oh yeah, and if not, I always find as long as you acknowledge it once in the episode, it doesn't grate as much, because people have a reason for it. But I'm sure he can do it. Anthony Overton is our engineer, and he does an amazing job making this show sound great. We record it remotely in less than ideal environment.
Yes, it's less accurate. Yeah.
Okay, I think this was much warranted. Another email catch-up episode, because we get so many in, and I'm not complaining. Yeah. Please keep them coming. We love it. It's great fodder for the podcast, and it's nice to get in touch with the listeners and answer your questions. But I have one last thing. I think we can finish on this. I'll just read this email. I normally surmise them, shorten them.
You didn't say the funny thing I said to the kid in Bristol. Say the funny thing I said.
Okay.
Tell them the funny thing I said. The funny, inappropriate thing I said to a 13-year-old child with a bike. Tell them that, Talal.
Coming up. Go on, I'm just loading it up. Sorry.
All right.
I was speeding through. Sorry, mate. Yes, of course.
That's right.
I would love to. So this kid, he was not a kid anymore. His name is Chris. Him and his mates would stand by the side of the set when you're on location and just watch you guys filming all day on their bikes. And occasionally you guys and Rick and Ed, he said they would, in between takes, go over and entertain them, and Nigel, and do little comedy sets for them. And it was just such a memory for them. And I'm super jealous, to be honest. The highlight for me was the day the riot was filmed, with you as Brian Damage, and Madness played right in front of us. God, it sounds so cool. I had brought with me a copy of the comic strip LP, which I'd brought probably 2 years earlier. I had recognized that bloke that does Kevin Turvey amongst the lineup on the back. The Young Ones in the comic strip hadn't aired by that time. Then he passed it around for signing, and finally handed it to you, Alexi, with a pen. You said to my 13-year-old self, "Where the fuck did you get this? No cunt bought this." And I've rarely been so delighted. Thank you so much for that. You treated us 13-year-old twatty fanboys with grace and warmth. You probably recognized just how happy they were to be there. That's so nice. And yeah, but that isn't an inappropriate thing to say to a 13-year-old.
Exactly.
It certainly is.
All right, so now what was the thing you were going to finish with?
So this is from Mark. The subject heading is Freedom is at hand. Hi, Alexei. Fear not. I've been picking up the distress signals hidden within your podcasts, along with your desperate request for friends, a thinly disguised plea for help to free you from the pod cage in which Talal has imprisoned you. The call to arms has been clear from your frequent kit list of suggested weaponry. Nonetheless, I want to assure you that I and many others are forming a fleet of armoured Boris bikes as per your specifications, and these will be at your command until such times as you broadcast your safe word, don't stop, and we know you are finally free again.
Well, thank you for that. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. I didn't know you cared.
Mark, he's fine, okay?
Yeah, but you would say that, wouldn't you? Because you're anyway.
Yeah, I guess I would. I guess
Yeah.
I'm in a predicament here, but he is fine. He's not being How would I have any power over Alexei? He's trained in Kung Fu.
He's fine. That's true.
See?
Then so are you.
No, this podcast is over. Say goodbye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Alexei Soho podcast. This show is produced and edited by Talal Karkuti. Music by Tarbush Records. Thanks to Anthony Overton for the sound mixing and to Audio Boom for hosting us. Please keep your emails coming in at alexisowpodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, we really appreciate the emails. I am absolutely exhausted now, so you people are sucking the life out of me, even though I'm trying not to give off myself. I can't stop myself. I am giving you my essence, my entirety. I'm going to go and lie down with my cat Wolf now. Goodbye.